This is the best 2023 fantasy football draft strategy for picks 1 through 3. So a couple of weeks ago, I actually did this video in a different type of format though. It was mostly geared towards underdog drafts and ESPN type of drafts. So now that the preseason is basically over at this point, and the ADP of so many players has changed so much, we need to provide an updated 1 through 3 draft strategy, but this time it's going to be geared towards the sleeper app drafts and ESPN drafts rather than underdog drafts, and we're going to give the provided ADP updates here. I'm just getting over the 1-2 combo of COVID and strep throat, so let's go ahead and just get right into it because, man, I am fired up to be back here with you guys today. So for those of you who are new, the first thing that I absolutely have to say is all of my strategy is largely based on the fact that I am chasing ceiling players. I want to chase the highest ceiling players at each particular draft spot that I am allocated because that is what is important. To be able to find the ceiling guys and maximize your ceiling at each pick is where we are going to come up with winning teams. Now, obviously, we can't just say that we're going for ceiling straight up because if we wanted the highest ceiling ever, we would just draft quarterback. Obviously, you can't do that. We don't want to play like that because obviously, that's not a smart way to play. We need to be able to play smart and also to not play scared in fantasy football. So what we need to do here is we need to find the best value guys with the best ceilings attached to them. And what's interesting is when you look at last year's data of guys who were most commonly on winning teams, you can see on the screen right now that a lot of these guys are actually mid-round guys. You're seeing a lot of guys like Jerick McKinnon, Zay Jones, more guys like that who were drafted either very late or even very early in the middle type of rounds. And of course you have your early guys, right? Like Christian McCaffrey, Justin Jefferson. Of course you have those types of guys. So what's important, obviously, is to make sure that you do hit on your first couple of picks. You can't afford to miss on your first pick or two. It just cannot happen. But what you also need to do here to heavily increase your chances of winning is making sure that you are going and getting the best ceiling guys in the mid rounds here. That's what you want to discuss right here. So let's discuss some of my favorite targets round by round. When we look at round 1, obviously picks 1 through 3 is what our range is right now. So when you're looking on the sleeper app, in order, you've got Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, and Jamar Chase. I think that's the perfect order. My order is the exact same. I think Justin Jefferson is perfect for the 101, either in half PPR or full PPR formats in fantasy football on Sleeper. That's the perfect formation right there. Christian McCaffrey is obviously the best running back in fantasy football, so he is not a bad pick whatsoever here as well. But that is the perfect order in my opinion right here. That is the updated order on Sleeper right now. Now, when you look over to ESPN, same guys, just a little bit slightly different. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, then Christian McCaffrey. Now, for me personally, the order stays the same. Justin Jefferson, McCaffrey, then Chase. The reason that I am picking Christian McCaffrey over Jamar Chase here is because of that running back position. I think that Christian McCaffrey is the best one. I think he provides you the higher ceiling than Jamar Chase does in fantasy this year. That's why I am picking him over Jamar. But Jamar is a great pick as well. So then when we move on to round 2, we've got picks 22 through 24. So we have a long time coming before this next pick, which makes it that much more important for us to hit on specifically that first pick, but we need to hit on this pick as well. So when we look at the ADP here, we've got Jalen Waddle, Jalen Hurts, and Tony Pollard in the sleeper app right now, picks 22 through 24. Now, my order here, I love getting Tony Pollard at the back of the second round on Sleeper, and that's why he is number 1. At this point, guys, I know earlier this offseason I said I was not sold on taking Tony Pollard in the second round. I am there now. I am there now because Dalvin Cook is out. He's not coming to Dallas. And Zeke, a player that I don't think is even good anymore, but he has familiarity with the Dallas Cowboys, he's not coming back either. So Tony Pollard, the competition that's on the market right now, Kareem Hunt and Leonard Fournette, they do not scare me when it comes to lowering Tony Pollard's ceiling like those other two guys do. So I am 100% in on getting Tony Pollard in the back of the second round at this point. I love picking Tony Pollard here. And then Jalen Hurts, my point on this is that obviously Jalen Hurts is a great player. There's no question about that. Nobody questions that Jalen Hurts is fantastic in fantasy football. He is going to be fantastic again. But the problem that I have with Jalen Hurts is that when you are looking later on in these types of formats, you are finding better quarterbacks with just as high of a ceiling. Maybe not the same floor, but you can make up the ground at the ceiling in a couple of more rounds with guys like Justin Fields, guys like Justin Herbert. You don't have the same ability to do that at the running back position or at the wide receiver position here. So if Jalen Hurts is there, I don't blame you if you want to pick him. I don't personally do it because I know I can maximize my ceiling at quarterback a couple of rounds later, whereas I can't do that with running back and wide receiver. And one thing I love to do in every draft strategy video I do is we need to make sure that we are addressing every draft is different. Your draft is different from my draft, and my draft is different from your draft. So what's important here is that we need to make sure we are accounting for the fact that people in front of you who are drafting there may not like picks 20 through 21. Maybe they leave behind Josh Allen. Maybe they leave behind Jonathan Taylor. Should that affect your draft strategy at all? Me personally, it does not. I have Josh Allen ranked a spot behind Jalen Hurts this year in fantasy football, and Jonathan Taylor I would not pick over Tony Pollard at this point in time. Now, when you're looking at ESPN, you've got Jalen Hurts, Jalen Waddle, and DK Metcalf in this order. So my order personally, Jalen Waddle, Hurts, then Metcalf. Like I said, the wide receiver here, you've still got a very good wide receiver pick in Jalen Waddle right here. And of course, like I said, with Jalen Hurts, if you want to take him, I don't blame you. He's a great quarterback in fantasy football. I prefer to make up that ground a little bit later on though, whereas I can't do that at the wide receiver position. And in picks 20 through 21, you've got Josh Allen, you've got Amon-Ra. If Amon-Ra falls, I would pick Amon-Ra over Jalen Waddle. Then when you move down to round 3, you've got picks 25 through 27. So obviously you're on that 2-3 turn right there where you're not going to have to spend much time really just twiddling your thumbs and waiting for your next pick. You basically got to pick right immediately out of the gate. And on Sleeper app, this is where I really like the values here. You've got Chris Olave, Mark Andrews, T. Higgins. In my order, it's not close. You go Chris Olave, 100%. If he is available in the third round, you pick him. He has top five legitimate fantasy wide receiver upside right here. He absolutely has top 5 upside. And if you can get that type of a player in round 3, that is exactly what you do here. Now, I like T. Higgins as well. He does not have the upside that Chris Olave does. Now, as opposed to if you were just talking about the 2-3 turn and you have the number 2 pick on the clock right now, you can't really look at the guys who are picking in front of you. If you're at the number 3 turn right here and you've got the start of the third round, what you need to do is look at the guys who are going in between now and the next time you pick. Because like I said, it is a long time before you get to pick again. There are some guys who are in between that area who are very good as well. You've got Ramondre Stevenson at pick 29. Absolutely a good third round pick. The dude is going to be safe this year at the very least, and he absolutely still has a top 8 ceiling in fantasy football. He is going to be just fine in fantasy football this year. You've got Travis Etienne. I've been on record all offseason saying that Travis Etienne is a league-winning type of running back here. So if you want to go wide receiver in round 3 with Olave, I understand that. But let's say that you do want to go running backs. Travis Etienne is a fantastic pick. You've got Joe Mixon at pick 39 as well. There are several good running backs here in this third round that I absolutely would advise you taking if you plan to go running back. But let me make no mistake. Chris Olave is a tremendous value here in the beginning of the third round on Sleeper. Let's look at ESPN. You've got Joe Mixon, Jonathan Taylor, and T. Higgins in that order. In my particular order, I would go Jonathan Taylor, then Mixon, then T. I like Jonathan Taylor in the third round. Third round, I would take Jonathan Taylor. Second round, I don't feel comfortable at this point. But the third round, getting that type of a ceiling in the third round is absolutely fantastic here. If I can get Jonathan Taylor in the third round, I will take it because the reality is he's going to play. All of this stuff that is happening right now with the potential trade, I would not be surprised if by the time you were watching this, Jonathan Taylor has not found a trade partner and he is going to play for the Indianapolis Colts this year. I may sound stupid for saying that by the time you're watching it, but that's my hunch here, is that he's not getting traded and he will play for the Indianapolis Colts. And he's going to have a very high ceiling at the very minimum. Now again, there's a couple of really good picks later on. Travis Etienne, pick 30. And Chris Olave, pick 28. So if you want to go wide receiver, you've got your guy there at Chris Olave for sure. Maybe you don't prefer Jonathan Taylor and you want to go with a guy who's guaranteed to play right now, which is Travis Etienne. Don't mind that either. Now moving on to round 4. Again, long time coming before we have this next pick here. And we've got picks 46 through 48. As you can see on the list right here, there has been a teardrop of guys here. On the Sleeper app, you've got George Kittle, you've got DeAndre Hopkins, and you've got Justin Herbert. Now, those are some good guys that I actually really like, specifically at the onesie positions here. And in my order personally, I would go with Justin Herbert, then George Kittle, then DeAndre Hopkins. Justin Herbert in the 4th round is a very good pick this year. He's got a new offensive coordinator who is highly regarded as one of the best offensive coordinators in football and potentially the next head coach of the Chargers, Kellen Moore. He is going to open this offense up for Justin Herbert, and it's going to be fantastic this year with the new weapons that he has as well. I love picking Justin Herbert in the 4th round here on Sleeper right now. Now, of course, George Kittle, if you'd rather go tight end here, fantastic pick as well. I love picking George Kittle in fantasy this year. But the reality here is I would take the quarterback as opposed to taking the tight end here. But picks 43 through 45 right here, there are other options that if one of them specifically falls, I would pick. At 43 through 45, you've got TJ Hawkinson, Amari Cooper, and Justin Fields. If Justin Fields falls, I will be picking Justin Fields over Justin Herbert all day long. Both great options here. That's why I think you need to go quarterback here in round 4 regardless. But if Justin Herbert falls, that is the guy to pick. Now then, when we shift gears to ESPN, we've got DeAndre Hopkins, we've got Dameon Pierce, and we've got George Kittle. The order here for me is going to absolutely be George Kittle to get the onesie position, then DeAndre Hopkins, then Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce is a guy I have been saying I love all offseason. I think it's a little bit too early on ESPN for Dameon Pierce personally. Now again, picks 43 through 45, guess who's in there again? TJ Hawkinson, Justin Fields, and Darren Waller. If Justin Fields falls, you take him again. Justin Fields in the 4th round is going to win leagues this year. Mark that down. He is going to break fantasy football this year. And you simply just do not want to miss that right now. Now then, we go down to round 5. Again, very short turn right there. Picks 49 through 51. We've got on the Sleeper app, we've got Terry McLaurin, we've got Damian, and we've got DJ Moore. Now again, in this order right here, I would go Dameon Pierce, then DJ Moore, then Terry McLaurin. Dameon Pierce in round 5, more acceptable for that for me. I like him in round 5 better than I do in round 4 on ESPN right here. Now, personally for me, when you do look at the guys who are going behind them, because like I said, it is a long time until you pick again. When you look at guys like Trevor Lawrence, maybe you didn't get your quarterback in round 4, which you should have, but maybe you didn't get him. Trevor Lawrence is still a very good pick in the 5th round here. Then you've got J.K. Dobbins, who is now back. He is practicing with the Ravens now, pick 56. Alexander Madison, pick 58. So there are good running backs here in the 5th round. I do think that Dameon Pierce is definitely going to be a very good pick in the 5th round on Sleeper right here. The running backs available in round 5 on Sleeper are just better than the wide receivers available in round 5. That's just a reality. Then when we look at ESPN, we've got Christian Watson, we've got Jerry Jeudy, and we've got Alvin Kamara. My order is the exact same, but let me tell you this. That order is going to change. Jerry Jeudy, as of the time of this recording, is likely not going to suit up in week 1. So he will likely not last there in this particular spot. Alvin Kamara is not the pick here either, because when you are talking about a redraft league, unless your team has the advantage of putting a player on an IR spot, do not pick a suspended player. Alvin Kamara is going to miss the first couple of games in the league, so it is not wise to pick him this high when he is just going to be wasting roster spots for you. Now, if you do have your IR spot and you would like to make the case for everyone to have it, please let me know in the comments below, because I agree. I think everyone should have an IR spot in their redraft league, but that may not be your reality, and if it isn't, I would not advise you to pick Alvin Kamara personally. But again, here personally for me, the guys actually going a little bit behind them in the same round, I actually advise picking more. Breece Hall at pick 53, I'm sorry, but if you're getting Breece Hall in the 5th round, that is a time where you pull the trigger on an extremely talented player who is going to absolutely provide you much more upside in the later portion of the NFL season this year in fantasy football. He will provide lots of upside later on. Trevor Lawrence, again, pick 60. If you need a quarterback, this is the last really good ceiling quarterback in this particular range. And Alexander Madison is at pick 61. The season is absolutely fast approaching us, man. And let's say that you want to continue to prepare for your fantasy football season, and maybe you've already drafted. Well, if you want to know some league-winning tips that you're going to need for 2023 fantasy football, click on this video right here.